The race for the yellow jersey, though, was still very much a live issue, and it was going to be settled just where the organisers had planned, hoped and prayed it would be settled when they drew up the route map at the summit of the Col du Tourmalet, the final Pyrenean climb of the Tour's mountain centenary. The difference being that this time they wouldn't be going down the other side as they had 2 days earlier. The Tourmalet wasn't the only climb of stage 17. There were the Col de Mont Blanc and the Col de Soulor to get over before the big one began. But with no descent to recoup any losses, everybody knew that this was where the action would begin. For a nasty couple of minutes, it looked as though Samuel Sanchez might not reach the Tourmalet. Lying third overall, he was lying sprawled in the road early in the stage, the victim of a crash the cameras didn't see. He looked badly dazed to start with, but he soon had teammates around him to escort him back to the field.
Imagine waking up in your nice warm bed, and as you slowly come to consciousness, you hear the rain banging on the window. You or I might decide to just pull the duvet up a little further, turn on our side and drift slowly back to sleep. The athletes of the Tour de France, however, as they open their eyes, have absolutely no doubt that they're going to have to spend the day risking life and limb. They know that they're going to be battered by rain and wind on the descents, and they have absolutely no doubt that by the end of it, they'll have been to their mental and physical limit. Despite there being just 4 days left in this race, conditions like this will understandably make some riders think about throwing in the towel. It'll certainly be a test for those at the back, like Robbie McEwen and perhaps Alessandro Patacchi. Even, dare I say, Cadel Evans may start to wonder whether it's worth persevering just to say that he's finished. So, as they approach the final ascent, just who do these conditions favour? You've got to think it's not somebody from a warm climate like Samuel Sanchez or Alberto Contador. Perhaps that's a small advantage for Luxembourger Andy Schleck and Russian Denis Menchov. So, if the clouds do stay down, the term out of sight, out of mind comes into play, because Andy Schleck is going to need every millimetre of this 2,000-foot climb if he's going to take enough time out of Alberto Contador to win this Tour de France. 50 metres visibility certainly isn't going to hurt that mission. On a day with so many variables, one thing is for certain: the Luxembourger has both a physical and metaphorical serious mountain to climb.
We're looking straight into the eyes of the yellow jersey. He's still sat on the wheel on the Col de Tourmalet of the white jersey, Andy Schleck. Neither has raised a pedal in anger. Their teammates are still setting the pace. 11.5 kilometres to climb. The Russian Alexander Kolomnev, the only survivor of 7, is pushing on, and he's still got 2 minutes. We're in Barège. Well, all of Belgium will be loving these pictures right now as Jurgen van der Broek sits on second wheel here. The Saxo Bank riders are almost done for. Then who's going to set the pace? That's got to be the key for Schleck to go. Off the back goes Verdugo, the man that stood by the roadside to get Sanchez back in the race earlier. The Col de Tourmalet signed on the left of the road. The leader is a Russian cyclist. Alexander Kolomnev comes up through the village here of Barège. A massive, massive crowd. He's still got time on his side, 1 minute and 3/4. He's got 11 kilometres to climb. There's no respite now. And where these boys are getting the strength from at this sort of speed, I really don't know.
Watch out for Joaquin Rodriguez there from Katusha. He must be feeling quite comfortable there because he knows he's got his teammate Kolovnev up the road. Menchov still looking dangerous. You know, that face of Menchov's does not give anything away at all, but he's never put a foot wrong in this year's Tour.
And he's sat there watching and waiting.
Well, as we start to go through the town of Barège, once we leave Barège, Phil, it really then starts to get a little bit grippy. We're looking then at 9% gradient, the steepest part of the climb as we leave the town of Barège. And this is the sort of damage that's being done from the breakaway. This is one of the survivors. He's looking back over his shoulders. He'll get a chance just to see what it looks like at the front end. There's a move off the front end, and I think that's Carlos Barredo.
Well, it is Carlos Barredo, I would say for sure, as he's made his move. The man that got caught just inside of the flag as we raced into Po 2 days ago. Rest day yesterday. Remy Poriol in the breakaway has now been picked up by the peloton. Can anybody read that? It should be 10 to go.
They're getting all of the cars out of the gap now because we're down to 1 minute and 20 seconds to the front end of the main field. And there's lots of riders now feel they've got a chance of getting a victory. Wolfgang Phil has pulled up. There's Andy Schleck's move.
Well, this has to be now because he's lost all his teammates. Now it's time. It's come down to the top 2 riders in the Tour de France. Schleck grits his teeth. All Contador has to do is follow.
Well, that's all he's doing currently. They've got Joachim Rodriguez just slipping back a fraction there. Is number 25, Levi Leipheimer. He's been put into difficulty by this acceleration.
And what an acceleration here. Rodriguez, I think it is trying to get onto the tail, and he's making it. And Denny Menchoff is trying to cross the gap. Sanchez has not responded.
Yeah, but also coming across is Robert Gesink as well, because that's the other rider a little bit further back. Rodriguez can't stand the pace that's being dished out here by Andy Schleck. Contador Phil looks very comfortable.
Lance Armstrong sits here in the group as well. These boys will see daylight and common sense when they get rid of the pacemakers at the front, I think, because this is an incredible show now at the front.
Well, they're catching everybody there. You could just caught a quick glimpse of Ruben Plaza going backwards, and Andy Schleck is taking no prisoners here this afternoon. This is the next group forming on the road. Jürgen van der Broek, Sanchez, Chris Horner is riding a Stormer.
Look at the face of Samuel Sanchez, injured by the fall. He's still trying to hold on to that 3rd place in Paris. This rider has decided not to rip off on the front by lifting the speed, but to take it to the limit and see if he can really ride Contador off his wheel.
Well, he's looked over his shoulder. He's done the damage to everybody else in the Tour de France currently. They're still looking for a good minute, Phil, to try and pull back Kolobnev. And Andy Schleck is not asking for any help at all. This is Nicolas Roach now. He's being tailed off.
A counter-attack has pushed off Nicolas Roach, but he still rides high in this Tour de France. He's in 18th at the start today. Well, we're looking at every man for himself now as we come up at 9.5 kilometres to ride. Robert Gesink here is joining the counter-attack here from Andy Schleck, if he can, because right up the road now is the big move. The white jersey is attacked with the yellow jersey on his wheel. And Samuel Sanchez here is trying to reach him. But this is where the Tour de France lies right now. They are 21 seconds behind the last survivor of those 7 men, Kolobnev. And this man Schleck has not really attacked Contador. He's tried to ride him off his wheel.
That's a tough thing to do, but he's made it as tough as possible. I tell you what, all of a sudden, that 1 minute advantage that Kolobnev have just got wiped away, and it's all because of this man in the white jersey, the man who starts today in 2nd place overall. He's only looking for 8 seconds, and what he wants to do today is try and turn the books around to get himself a grip on that yellow jersey.
The white jersey of number 11, the number that Stephen Roach rode in 1987 to victory in the Tour de France. And now can Andy Schleck get his hands on that yellow jersey? He's 8 seconds off it. He needs it before the top today to start last in the time trial. Do you think Contador doesn't know that? Contador has not really attacked in this Tour de France apart from the instance down into the finish the other day. He has just followed because he knows he's the master of the time trial.
He looks concentrated there. He knows that all he has to do is match the man in front of him. He's just got to keep an eye on him. Schleck is accelerating a fraction here, trying to break.
Well, this is what Contador used to do. He doesn't look in any trouble yet. Remember that Contador, though he leads this race, hasn't won any of the stages. He won't want to go to Paris without winning one. And the last one he can win, really, is probably today. The lone figure of Kolobnev on the horizon. Then the top 2 in the Tour de France head up the cast as we head up to the top of the tourmalet.
Well, they're very shortly going to be onto the coattail of this man, Alexander Kolobnev. He might have dreamed for a fraction of a time that he was going to win this stage this afternoon, but he must have known, Phil, there was going to be a huge battle behind him. And there they are in 2nd and 3rd place on the road for the moment. Shortly, it'll be 1st and 2nd.
And this chase group behind, which still contains the top 2 riders, Menchov here, and has been joined by rider Hejerdal. The pacemaking being done by Sanchez. Hejerdal could be going up inside the top 8 riders tonight with this performance.
Yeah, because Levi Leipheimer has been tailed off, and it could well be that the Canadian will climb up into 8th place. He has been a phenomenal performer. What amazes me is the freshness that rider Hejerdal has at the start every morning. Andy Schleck is riding like a man possessed. He has got nothing to lose this afternoon, Phil. All he's got to try and do is see if he can grab back that yellow jersey, and all Contador has to do is ride defensively.
8.5 kilometers from the summit of the Col de Tourmalet. They get alongside and pass and drop the Russian rider Alexander Kolovnev. He's the champion of Russia. He's got no answer to these two. This has become a personal battle now. The Tour de France is a sideshow. It's Schleck versus Contador. The two leaders are just inside, 5 kilometers to climb. They're in the heaviest cloud of the moment. They'll come out of it before the finish, and all they'll see when they come out of it is a very, very steep twisting road to the summit of the Col de Tourmalet. And no, Contador will not go past Andy Schleck. It's up to Schleck to lose him.
Well, it's up to Schleck to try and rip the yellow jersey off the shoulders of Alberto Contador. He's done everything he can. And what a great job of work done by Team Saxo back to set this up. And Andy Schleck is kicking again.
Remember, Schleck needs 9 seconds to get the yellow, so he starts last in the time trial on Saturday. He has said, if I don't start last in the time trial, there's no way I will ever beat Alberto Contador on Saturday. So it's very important. He knows what Contador is doing in front of him in the time trial.
And that's what he wants to do, but he's not going to do it like this. He needs to just keep accelerating. He needs to go back a fraction and then jump once again. The crowd are going crazy here as we go through the mist, and I wonder if they will climb out of the mist at all. Just inside of 3 miles to go to the finish. This is a phenomenal work that Andy Schleck is doing on the front end of the race.
He's increased the tempo here, and Contador's matching him. They will climb out of the mist, believe me, as they continue. The flag of Australia waving there. Be a little bit of a wait today, I'm afraid, for Cadel Evans. If you can just see the face here of Schleck, this is hurting him. Contador is just concentrating and answering the call of Schleck's pedals.
Well, they've got a good 1 minute and 20 seconds over the chase group behind them, which is a chase group containing all of the riders up in the top 10 overall, apart from Levi Leipheimer, who seems to have faltered, but he's been replaced by his own teammate, Chris Horner, who is in that group with Kreuziger, Hezerdal, Rodriguez, Vandenbroek. Sanchez is still there with Menchov and Gesink.
Now he looks over his shoulder. That's the bad sign. Here comes the slowdown. He knows that he hasn't got rid of high-speed tempo riding, has not got rid of Contador. We're looking soon in about 1/3 of a kilometre for 4 to go. Time is running out for Andy Schleck here, and the crowd are getting deeper by the inch.
Well, he was looking to see whether he's got that final little bit of acceleration as they start to get that bit steeper up the climb. Just about 4 kilometres to go.
Is this the shutdown by Andy Schleck? Is he a little bit disheartened by the fact that Contador has not given him an inch on that back wheel? The crowd are shouting them through. The adrenaline must pour. They are riding almost side by side to the 4 kilometre sign here in the final mountain stage of the Tour. And as Contador will not go by him, he's just hanging on in there. Schleck is now beginning to look a little bit confused.
Well, he's looking into the face of Alberto Contador to see if he can see any sign of weakness. But so far, Alberto Contador hasn't shown any sign of weakness at all. Andy Schleck, Phil, has to continue with the path that he's decided to choose here this afternoon. There is no turning back.
The white jersey of Schleck, the best young rider. The crowd are shouting into the ears of Contador. These people are all Spanish. They're not French. They can go over the hill and go home anytime they want to. They're here to see the Spanish rider keep his yellow jersey.
Contador's going.
And he's gone. And is Schleck going to answer that one? I'm not sure he can, because this is going to be a massive attack. Andy Schleck, though, has got all of the courage that has come to him in this Tour de France. Look at that. He's back on him.
Well, he's not quite on it, but he's digging very deep indeed, and that was a very vicious acceleration by Alberto Contador, but slowly the Luxembourger has clawed his way back.
Well, really, Contador should turn round and shake his hand, because that was a superb recovery. I think there might have even been a word there, because look now at Schleck staring into the eyes of Contador as if to say, you sat on me all the way up and you thought you could get rid of me.
That was a stare right into the face of Alberto Contador by Andy Schleck. Not only is he trying to get the yellow jersey this afternoon, Phil, he wants to win this stage as well, because this is a stage of legends. 100 years ago, the Tour de France included the Col de Tourmalet, and Andy Schleck knows all about history.
Well, it's a long, long time since we've seen two cyclists of virtually equal ability here. as they ride side by side, separated by a mechanical problem to Schleck. Otherwise, they might still be locked in a duo battle.
Well, that would be a real battle on the final time trial if they'd gone in with that, a difference of 31 seconds. However, it's 8 seconds advantage to Alberto Contador. I wonder if he's going to try again, because he probably will be a bit disheartened. You know, last year when Alberto Contador attacked on the slopes of a climb, he went clear from everybody. This year, it's a little bit different.
Well, Contador must have been pretty surprised there that Schleck had that power still in his legs, because it really was a quick reaction by Schleck. We're going to be out of the mist soon now. We'll be at 3 kilometers to go. These two boys could well go to the line side by side. How fitting would that be?
And if you remember when we went back to the time when Andy Schleck followed Alberto Contador because he said he didn't think he could respond to the surprise attacks, well, he responded to that one perfectly.
100 years of climbing the Col de Tourmalet. Well, they paid homage to the mountain today with one of the greatest climbs by two riders in the history of the Tour.
But this has been an incredible battle, and Andy Schleck will not give up at all. I wonder if Contador thinks he's got one last acceleration in those legs of his this afternoon at 3K to go.
3 kilometers, 1.8 miles to the end of the mountains in the Tour de France. It won't be the end of the Tour. There's 3 more days to go, and there's a crucial time trial to come on Saturday. These two boys go up like Siamese twins.
Well, the Spanish flags now are waving there, hoping their man can come up with a victory on this top of the Col de Tourmalet. They also want him to take the yellow jersey all the way up to Paris. Andy Schleck has ridden like a man possessed this afternoon. He's a real fighter, and he will fight all the way up to the top of this climb, and he'll still hope that he's going to get himself a victory. Got himself tangled in the Basque flag there. Please don't let that falsify the race.
Well, the Vikings have landed. They found the Col de Tourmalet. It's taken them 100 years, but there they are as Andy Schleck now looks out here for Luxembourg. Nobody has climbed in a race from Luxembourg in this race since the great Charlie Gaulle, who coined the image, the angel of the mountain.
Well, I'm not sure about the guys on the left-hand side of the road.
Well, they're very brave men in these weather conditions, I can tell you.
I think they're trying to emulate Borat from a couple of years ago. But anyway, more importantly, back to the race. Schleck's face shows all of the concentration he needs, while further down the road at around about 1 minute and 20, Robert Gesink is trying to keep his man, Denny Menchov, right up in the overall standings. And just tacked on the back there, I'm just looking, I think yes he is, Sammy Sanchez.
But also another superb piece of riding coming out of Chris Horner after that long breakaway the other day before when we went into Po, moved him up to 14th place overall. This man could be moving into the top 10 tonight. Well, do you think the Tour de France ended right now on the Col de Tourmalet? It does not. There are 3 more days to come. Tomorrow we might be talking about people like Mark Cavendish winning again down into Bordeaux. And then there's a time trial to come and the final day to Paris, which will be more or less a ceremony and a respectful salute to whoever does win this race. But these two boys have been the very, very best. And Schleck, what a competitor.
Well, just telling you now, a computer's just coming through and letting me know where Nicolas Roche is. He's actually currently riding in 11th place on the road, so he wasn't too far off making the junction with that group in front of him. That's a phenomenal ride by him. He'll be climbing up as well at the end of the day, maybe also up into a top 15th place.
2 kilometers to the summit of the Col de Tourmalet now. It doesn't get any easier, believe me. It gets a bit more twistier. And Schleck has made no effort to try another attack. There has to be one more from Andy Schleck. He has to try and get 8 seconds. He's lifted the tempo again, but he's going to have to go with a big sprint and a big surge because Contador is not even ruffled here.
No, not at all. He's just sitting there allowing the Luxembourger to do the pacemaking. I don't think Andy Schleck's got one more acceleration left in those legs of his, but he's still dreaming. He's still dreaming about one thing, Phil. If he can't get rid of Alberto Contador, he wants to try and get him the stage victory.
It looks like they're bringing the cloud with them here, but the finish is still okay as Schleck continues to climb. Clear road ahead now. Contador has the best position just to follow Schleck. This is all he ever had to do. He knew it, but he did try to drop him and he failed.
Well, I hope these spectators don't get too close, because I don't want to see an accident to either of these two riders at the front end of the main field. Schleck is still dishing out the work to Alberto Contador, who just sits there. I would have thought that if Contador was feeling pretty good, he'd come to the front and try and show Andy Schleck that he's got the legs this afternoon.
Well, Contador wants the stage win. Yellow jerseys are supposed to win stages, and he hasn't got one yet. And he will go for the win, even though he hasn't helped Schleck all the way up here. That is for sure. And he's got now 1.4 kilometers to the summit. The road doesn't get any easier at all. It stays quite steep as we twist, and it gets narrow too.
Well, these two are locked together as we expected they would be. They have been locked together since they left the town of Barège. The picture of the face of Andy Schleck here is what it's all about this afternoon. He's dishing out as much pain as he can, but you can't ride a man like Alberto Contador off your wheel.
Well, one thing's for certain now, Andy Schleck's flank club will take a boost in membership after his ride up this mountain. This is Rodriguez. Further down the mountain, this is the next group, which contains Kreuziger, Hegedal. Horner is here, Vandenbroek is here, Sanchez.
Well, Kreuziger actually just going off the back a fraction there as Joachim Rodriguez puts the hammer down.
But if Kreuziger goes off the back, Nicholas Roach will be the next to see him on the way up. We're still with the leaders. If anything, the crowd has got, the fog has got a little bit worse here, but it's quite clear outside our commentary box.
Well, Andy Schleck still riding at the front, and now they're waiting for the final ultimo kilometro.
1 kilometre to the summit and the last climb in this year's Tour de France. The two men separated this morning by 8 seconds are not separated by any more than 8 seconds as they go into the last 900 metres.
Well, Andy Schleck now has got to try and get his head around the fact that he's got to try and outsprint Alberto Contador to at least get something back from the work that he's done in this breakaway this afternoon. Kiwi flag over to the right-hand side there, the Breton flag, the Norwegian flag, the Spanish flag, they're all out for these guys.
This is an atmosphere never before seen on the Col de Tourmalet, despite being in the Tour for 100 years. And can Contador even attack with the crowd like this? The only good news is the barriers will start soon, and they'll be free to go one more time, head-to-head, as they race for the top. We literally finish on the very, very, very top of this mountain.
Well, Andy Schleck getting out of the saddle one more time, and there we've got the crowd off to the side. It's going to be a big preparation now for the final sprint to the top of the Col de Tourmalet.
The Japanese flag waits. The rising sun is right there as they go by. We're still in the mist here, but this will kick round again. It'll hairpin up towards the line. It is so steep at this point on the Tourmalet.
It's extremely steep in the corners of the Tourmalet now as the riders start to hug the left-hand side of the road, and still Alberto Contador has not come forward. He's going to bank everything, Phil, on the final acceleration up to the line, and I wonder if Andy Schleck has got anything at all left in those legs of his to try and get himself the victory.
Well, what is he? An absolute superman the way he's ridden today. 500 metres to go. That's all. And Contador is waiting. We'll come round the back. That maybe there are no barriers here. I don't know, because it's up the other side of the mountain from the way we came today because of the people. And just look at the people here. Now, what an image this is. The maillot jaune, the maillot blanc, and they're taking the race head-to-head. Another hairpin right round. And that's a really steep corner. Contador, is he going to try and sprint for the line? Will he dare take the glory away from Schleck, who's been an absolute hero today? My answer is he will.
He will go for it if he can. He does not want to become the 7th rider in the history of the Tour de France to win the Tour without winning a single stage. Looking over 300 metres to go, and still Contador sitting in 2nd position.
I just thought for a moment he was going to ride shoulder to shoulder with Schleck and may the best man win, but no. Contador has dropped back here. It is so steep, and we're getting into the last 200 metres. Sooner or later, somebody's going to make a move.
Well, this climb, Phil, goes right the way up to the summit. They can't see the banner, it's covered in mist, but still we're looking at about 150 metres to go for Andy Schleck, and Contador's waiting to make that move.
It's got to come now. Of course, we're on the other side of the mountain and we are literally in the sun, but they're going to finish this race in the fog at the top. They look at the finishing line. They can reach out and touch it. It's Schleck on the right, in case you can't see. Contador, they start the sprint side by side, and this is a huge effort. Alberto Contador, though, wants a stage win, and they're going to cross, and he's let Schleck take it, and so he should. That was incredible. Schleck wins. Contador takes second. Who will get third?
Well, Andy Schleck there, I think he deserved that victory. He did all of the tempo pace-making up to the summit of this climb. I don't think Alberto Contador dared to take the victory away from him.
The animosity that followed stage 15 had gone, replaced by a show of mutual respect, although there was the slight suspicion that the race leader was patronising the stage winner. The rest of the field was over a minute back, and Samuel Sanchez had recovered well enough from his fall to take another 8 seconds on Denis Menchov. Andy Schleck took the podium twice for the stage win and the white jersey as best young rider, but he'd been unable to take back the minute or so everyone agreed he needed in advance of the time trial.
Andy, congratulations. What do you feel most strongly? Proud or a little disappointed?
I'm proud. I'm not disappointed at all. Yeah, I can tell you I'm disappointed, but I'm not. I'm happy I'm on this stage, and you know I have my family up here. I know half Luxembourg, I think, filled up this mountain. You know, you see all this crowd said it's all Luxembourg people, so I'm pretty happy and proud to win in front of them.
What did you say to Alberto? You were looking at him. You were talking to him.
Yeah, I asked him if he would pass, you know, well, of course he didn't, you know, because if he would have passed, I would have attacked from the back, and but why should he, you know, and he did the right thing, and he even attacked me, you know, to show me, hey boy, I'm still there, stop your game, and yeah, I didn't, I just went to the front and, you know, changed rhythm, and then in the end, big respect, you know, for him that he didn't sprint.
Still, it was his rival getting the face time with the President of the Republic and crucially keeping the yellow jersey, which would allow him to start last in the time trial, knowing exactly how fast Schleck was going in front of him.
Were you riding on the limit, the absolute limit there, or could you have done more against Schleck if you had needed to?
Dice que si ibas al límite o todavía tenías algo que dar, te has guardado algo.
Bueno, desde luego que Andy ha subido muy rápido, como se han visto, pues que el resto de corredores estaban retrasados, pero bueno, sí que es verdad que hoy he tenido muy buenas sensaciones y he conseguido aguantar el ritmo bastante bien.
8 seconds was all that separated Alberto Contador from Andy Schleck, that and the knowledge of his superior time trialling skills. The closer battle looked to be the one for third place, where Samuel Sanchez would have to defend a 21-second advantage from Denis Menchov. One competition was definitively settled, though. With the final climb complete, Anthony Charteau was crowned King of the Mountains and would be wearing polka dots all the way to Paris. And as distant as it might have seemed from the top of the Tourmalet, Paris was just 3 days away.